Hello and welcome. I'm Sulaiman Aled. Tonight, members of the House of Representatives work towards developing a legislative agenda. The International Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative asked the federal government to implement past reports of the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative. The Department of State Services tenders video evidence of confessional statements made by 3 men accused of kidnapping Lagos lawyer Chief Mike Ozekome. And NATO condemns Russia's move to strengthen its nuclear arsenal.
On business news tonight, financial markets turn bearish ahead of tomorrow's auction by the Debt Management Office.
And on sports news, Nigeria's Super Falcons ready to battle the United States at the ongoing FIFA Women's World Cup, needing victory to move to the next round.
We begin tonight in Abuja, the nation's capital, where federal lawmakers are working towards developing a legislative agenda that will ensure the 8th House of Representatives meets Nigerians' expectations. The Speaker of the House, Honorable Yakubu Dogara, while declaring open a retreat organized in partnership with some development partners, said the document will serve as new Assembly's legislative roadmap. Our correspondent, Lanre Lasisi, reports.
The 8th House of Representatives at its first session, the House is yet to set out clear programs for itself and commence legislative work. In a bid to outline a clear direction for the House, the Speaker of the House of Representatives has convened a retreat to develop a legislative agenda for the 8th House of Representatives. Some of the development partners at the retreat outlined the importance of the event.
We will, over the next 2 days, look at the several issues related to the functions of the National Assembly, the structure of the National Assembly, the workings of the committees of the National Assembly, the work of members in the committees and as legislators, the plenary sessions of the House, the priorities of the 8th Assembly and what bills the 8th Assembly would like to see achieved and passed.
We work with the National Assembly because we understand that the National Assembly sits at the heart of a strong democracy. Its important representative, legislative and oversight functions help ensure a responsive and accountable government.
Declaring the retreat open, the Speaker said the House must deliver on the promises made to Nigerians.
Your task is straightforward: to construct a legislative roadmap, a legislative compass for the 8th House of Representatives. A document you will produce at the end of your assignment is expected to guide the actions of the House for the next 4 years.
Some of the lawmakers who are part of the drafting committee say the House will work to ensure the agenda is implemented.
Whatever you want to implement in this world, you need a very, very conducive environment. And I know that with President Muhammadu Buhari, you have a conducive environment for the 8th Assembly to implement its legislative agenda.
We can pick on just very few, of the agenda and then try as much as possible to see how we can improve, so that there will be positive change, because those that have elected us, that is the electorate, are there outside yearning for this change.
But what we are here to do today is to further the destination, to push the goalpost further. And then as we move on, I believe that even the 9th Assembly will also push it further.
The proposed agenda put together by this forum will be presented to the House in plenary for discussion and adoption. Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
In its quest to reform the mineral extractive sector of the economy, the federal government has been asked to implement recommendations of the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NEITI. The call has come in from the International Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, whose chairperson has pointed out that the Nigerian government has a ready-made tool in NEITI's reports. In some of his past audit reports, NEITI has alleged several irregularities in the extractive industries, including unremitted dividends and abuse of the petroleum subsidy regime.
Reports and recommendations on several irregularities, including alleged unremitted $11.6 billion to the Federation account, are contained in NATI's four-year audit reports between 2009 and 2012. The chairman of NATI, Mr. Miti Ledum, decried the non-implementation of those audit reports and recommendations to reform the extractive industries.
We have thrown up several issues bordering on unremitted funds, under-assessments, and even what we thought should even be oil theft, and several issues have cropped up in our several audits. While we have made some modest progress in terms of remediation, we believe that there are a host of issues that have been left undone in the issues of remediation.
Meanwhile, the international chairperson of the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, Mrs. Claire Short, has urged the government to dust these reports in its quest to enforce reforms in the sector.
The analysis has been done, it's of good quality, it shows what needs to be done to reform this sector. The recommendations for reform have not been carried through in the past. The new government says it wants to reform this sector. NITI's done the analysis. Here's a real opportunity to pick up the recommendations and drive it all forward. And it's a real chance.
Although NITI explained why it has not been able to prosecute defaulters in the past, it is hopeful that this visit by the international body will add some push for the implementation of her reports.
We believe that the opportunity that they've had with us will also give them an insight about maybe some of the processes that we go through, the challenges that we have, and we also think that they might be able to give us maybe some idea on how best we can pursue this issue of the implementation of the recommendations of our audits.
Mrs. Claire and her team are in the country to meet with the government and lend a voice to the proposed reforms in the extractive sector of the economy.
It's back to the lawmakers on the extractive industry as a group of civil society organizations has urged the 8th National Assembly to promptly pass the Petroleum Industry Bill. The group made the appeal during a courtesy visit to the Senate President, Bukola Saraki. After the meeting, a member of one of the civil society organizations, Mr. Ezenwa Nwogu, told Channels Television that the group also wants the lawmakers to give priority to the Disability Bill and further amend the Electoral Act.
First, to congratulate the new leadership, and then secondly, to put on the table some of our concerns. And I think about 5 or 6 of them were raised. The first will be the issue of the non-conclusion of the constitutional amendment process. We think that the 8th National Assembly should take it on and not allow the humongous amount of money that was expended on that exercise they must design a process to ensure that it doesn't go down the drain. We talked also about budget transparency and openness, not just for the MDAs, but also for the National Assembly itself. Those are some of the main concerns. And then PIB. We think that the Senate did not pass it. They should be statesmanly enough to overcome some of the primordial reasons for which the PIB has not been signed, and see how the 8th Senate fast tracks, at least within the next 12 months, to ensure that some of those bills are passed.
To some security matters now, the regent of Akungba Koko in Ondo State, who was abducted about 2 weeks ago along with 4 other people, has finally regained her freedom. The other 4 persons abducted along with the regent are an Indian, Alex Thikanathi, and his orderly police officer, Sunday Obute, the regent's driver, Jalili Abdul, and a youth corps member, Ijoma Azubike. 5 of them had run into the hands of the Arab doctors on their way from Akungba to Akure for a program at the Federal University of Technology in Akure, the state's capital.
The director of the Ondo State Security Services, Mr. Onyebuchi Ojobo, leads his team to Governor Olusegun Mimiko's office with 2 of the arrested abductors. Mr. Ojobo claims the suspects were caught in a forest along a border town between Ondo and Edo states.
The team started all the way from Port Harcourt, Your Excellency, sir. We had a team from Port Harcourt. We had a team that came directly also from Abuja, sent by my DG upon my request from him. Then the team networked with the one in Edo, with the one in Kogi, and the one in Delta, Your Excellency, and with the military, support of the military, at the time we are to get into the most sensitive and critical stage.
Governor Mimiko expresses joy over the release of the regent and other abductees.
It's a classical example of the benefit derived from agencies working together in a very synergistic way. And it's that synergy that has produced this result. There's already a law in this state against kidnapping, and they will be made to face the wrath of the law.
The released regent, who speaks in Yoruba language in an interview with newsmen alongside other victims, narrates our ordeal. She says the abductors demanded a 20 million naira ransom for her to gain her freedom.
So we were chained in a thick forest under a big tree with handcuffs on our hands. We were not allowed to see their faces, but legs.
It's not clear whether the ransom was paid, but it's sweet freedom for the regent of Akungba Akoko and her co-victims after about 2 weeks in captivity.
In part 2, after the break, the EFCC interrogates former Ebonyi State Governor Martin Elechi over alleged financial malpractices during his tenure as governor of the state. And of course, more on our kidnap stories. That's in a moment. Stay with us.